When it comes to breakups, Sigma males often have their own unique approach. They believe in moving on and making the choices that are most beneficial for their future. They don't like allowing emotions to cloud their judgment, but that doesn't suddenly make the pain easier to endure. It just means they focus more on the practical ways of overcoming things. Sigma males do try to problem solve even when it comes to emotions and breakups, which helps them in some ways but can also be a weakness. When it comes to emotions, being someone who tries to problem solve isn't always the most beneficial way to heal and move on properly. Enduring heartbreak is something most everyone has to go through at some point in their lives. While it is a part of life and a very common human experience, that doesn't make it any easier to get through it. Each person has their own process and needs to go through their breakup in certain ways in order to move on and really cope with what is going on inside of them. It is important to understand ourselves better so that we can figure out the best way to heal from heartbreak. Sigma males often appear stoic on the outside, but that doesn't mean they aren't struggling with it. They feel things deeply, and when they cared for someone and felt a strong connection with that person, the breakup can actually be very difficult for them. They do struggle to process these emotions, and so it can be hard for them to truly move on in their hearts. They might be capable of moving on in the practical sense, but that doesn't change how they are feeling. How Sigma males cope. Naturally, Sigma tries to bury his emotions and focus more on solving the problem. They see feelings as something that needs to be fixed, not something that needs to be accepted for what they are. This can make the process a much longer one for the Sigma, since they don't dive right into absorbing and understanding their inner emotions. Instead, he tries to find solutions and answers to the breakup and why it actually ended. For a Sigma, it does depend on who ended the relationship and initiated the breakup. If they are the ones who ended things, then the hardest part has likely already occurred. He most likely took a very long amount of time analyzing the relationship and tried to figure out ways to improve and make things better. They don't want to simply end things without being sure it is the right choice, and there is really no other solution for them. If Sigma is the one who is abandoned, they often feel differently about the situation. This is more challenging for them, especially if it seems sudden and isn't what they wanted. They still want to find answers, and will likely analyze the breakup to figure out what went wrong, and how they could have been better. They like to be logical about everything, even things which should be more emotional. They will likely become very reclusive and spend a lot of time distancing themselves from others so that they can process what is going on inside of their minds. Sigma males often find themselves analyzing the situation for long periods of time, almost to the point of exhaustion. They have a tendency to push others away, and try to focus on what's going on inside of their own minds. When they are going through a harsh breakup, they want to be alone and alienate themselves from others for a while. They don't want to deal with people asking them to open up and share their feelings, and so they try to avoid this. The go-to response is to analyze and try to figure out exactly what went wrong to make things end. They might blame themselves and try to figure out what they could have done better in the relationship. Sigma males do sometimes try to avoid their feelings about the breakup, wanting to find other things to bury themselves in. They don't naturally find it easy to focus on their emotions and dive into those feelings in order to heal the proper way. For a Sigma, sometimes it seems easier to ignore those emotions and just focus on doing things which can distract them from what is going on inside. Really diving into their hearts to handle the breakup in a healthy way is something which is challenging and even a bit draining for them. They sometimes just ignore the situation, and searching for distractions to keep them busy is the more natural way to cope. Letting go. While Sigma males are naturally independent and strong-willed people, that doesn't mean they are great at letting go. They don't particularly enjoy change and might even become anxious and uncomfortable with abrupt changes in their lives. A breakup which surprises them and hurts them deeply is going to be something they struggle to let go of for a while. They might blame themselves, or even blame the other person, but he doesn't like feeling blindsided by this type of change. When the shock hits them, it can cause them to feel overwhelmed, and their emotions likely hit much harder than they are prepared for in this situation. They likely become frustrated with themselves because of this, and don't want to feel like they are struggling to let go or move on. Spending hours indulging and analyzing the situation is simply part of their process, but they do eventually need to step outside of this bubble in order to let go and move on. Sigma males seem like they let go of things easily. In truth, they do hold onto their emotions more than people realize. The fact that they don't naturally dive into what they are feeling, and instead try to bury those emotions, is exactly what causes the Sigma to struggle when it comes to letting go for real. They might appear as if they have moved on quickly, but deep down they likely haven't. This is why it is so important for them to process their feelings and open up to new ways of healing after a breakup. Without taking these proper steps, they will struggle to truly let go and move on after a breakup from someone they truly cared for. Best ways to heal. While analyzing and trying to problem solve are the go-to responses for a Sigma, they aren't necessarily the healthiest. They feel things deeply, but have a tendency to try and ignore these emotions in favor of being logical and practical. When they experience a breakup which is truly heartbreaking for them, it is important for them to take the time to process their inner emotions. They need to really allow themselves to feel every part of it, without trying to find solutions or figure out why they are experiencing these emotions. Not everything needs an answer or a solution. Sometimes emotions exist without needing to have a valid explanation for them. This might make the Sigma uncomfortable at first, but it is an important step in healing and moving on from this painful experience. A Sigma who goes through a traumatic breakup might find themselves in their shadow, but that isn't the worst thing possible. Taking this time to explore other parts of themselves and just allowing themselves to break down a bit can actually be useful in the healing process as well. The Sigma in their shadow can be much more emotionally reactive and even a bit more adventurous. This can be unnerving for the people around them, but they need understanding during this time. Eventually, they will come back to themselves, likely by spending time researching and learning how to overcome their breakup and feel more comfortable in their own skin once again. The final stages of the grief often involve personal growth and adaptation. Learning how to better themselves and dive into new hobbies can really help them to heal and move on from their heartbreak. Spending time researching is one of the more natural things for a Sigma male, and can actually be useful when it comes to breakups. Understanding why they feel a certain way, or what makes them respond how they do, is something which brings clarity to the mind of the Sigma. They need some sort of answers and ways to move on, especially knowing that they aren't alone in this. Sigma males can feel different from most people they encounter, and so sometimes they need a unique approach for healing and growth.